do, a mood that you're in, your soul. So some kind of like, I would say something like maybe identify an emotion, right? So you can create your own hat, you can buy your hat, but I would love everybody here to participate because that's part of who we are. So as you grow, I believe that if you cannot stay with the feast, you're going to be okay in your path, as you go in life. So that's Purim. Any questions about your hat? Doesn't have to be a cute hat. It's not about hats of like these ones. Because I could do this one because that's what I am, but I bought something that talks about all the hats that I have. Kind of, that's the idea, my idea. So I don't know. So any questions that we know? You can have a little, like those indigens, like they have a little feather here, like you can have that. I don't care, something in your head. It could be a headband if you think that you're John McEnroe. Tennis. But the best. So, thank you. All right. Any other questions about Purim? Good. So let's talk about Pesach. So, oh, good. I'm glad somebody does. Like Bugs Bunny, excuse me. Remember that movie, Bugs Bunny? All right. Uh-huh. Yes.
So the service is going to be the same? We teaching the kids upstairs and...
No kids. All together, yeah.
So Rabbi said like just a hat that represents like an emotion that we're feeling or like, I don't know, an idea of...
I'll give you an example. Somebody told me here that they're going to bring a graduation hat because he feels that he has never finished anything. He wants to finish this time.
Oh, that's very like, so something that's meaningful.
It has to be meaningful to you, or the way you feel about your life. Like, it could be that too. Yeah.
But it wasn't just the hat. Before it was like the whole outfit, right?
Oh yeah.
Like very
Yes. I had issues with that one because people make issues about everything. But so I'm starting slowly to go back to that. So just every year I'm trying to restore things the way it's supposed to be restored. Yeah, I was a gladiator once. Yeah. I was Batman the other time. Yeah. And another one, I think I have many, But my heart is really who I am. So, we'll see. Any questions about that? No?
And what time on Friday?
So Friday starts at 6 because we have to do Shabbat. We've never done it this way. So we're going to do Shabbat. So we're going to honor Shabbat, and then we're going to go to the Purim moments, which is very unholy. So hopefully, that combination there. Yeah. Any other questions about anything with Purim? Right? You guys don't drink because you're not old enough, most of you. But we drink that day, so I think
preferably wine, right? Not beer or not.
you know what? Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
it shouldn't matter, but here in control. No, well, it's because
We have self-control.
Yeah, it's because the way we perceive beer is weird compared to wine. Beer looks more like something wrong for some reason than wine. Wine seems more classy, and people don't think of. Well, you can get drunk both ways, right? But yeah, that's why. 'Cause we still have issues. So we're just trying to do our best we can with the feast. But it's a very important feast because it finishes the cycle of the feast of last year's. I mean, we're starting a new year. The month of Nisan is a new year for us. That's truly our new year. Spiritually, that's our new year.
Can you explain, I just got a little static noise. What was that again? What month? March?
So March, right, ends up. Hold on, I have an issues right now.
Or is it just March 1st?
No.
Or is it a lunar?
It's a lunar.
Yeah, that's why I want to.
Yeah. So by the week of the 20th is the new moon of Nisan, and that's when we are going to have our. It's a new year. Well, we celebrate Nisan, the Pesach, and a full moon, which is the 14th. Tanta agua era mucha.
Yo creo que es más el dama, ¿verdad? Y viva aquí.
Si quería que me pusieran atención. So attention to me.
So we're talking from March 14th last year to now, and then that's our like calendar year.
So-
no, more fiscal kind of like.
More of a spiritual. So when Israel came out of Egypt as a nation, because in Egypt they were not a nation, they were slaves. They were a race, but not a nation. The moment they got out, the first commandment of Yahweh to the people of Israel was, these are your new moons. This is how the time you're going to measure it. And he started with Abib, which is the month of Nisan, the first month where Passover hits, which is the month of Aries. And this is the month of beginning. So we end with Pisces in the feet, and we go back to the head. And then we go down Aram Kadmon body to the feet again. Then the soul comes out from the feet, and it goes back into rebirth, back into the head. And that's the cycle of a true reincarnation of a nation. That's what we're doing. So we're finishing. We're like locking up. Make sure that everything is done so we can go. And we're going to go happy. That's why in Ecclesiastes says, when somebody dies, we should be happy. When somebody is born, we should be crying. Because when somebody is born, you don't know who is being born. When somebody dies, you exactly knew who he was. That way you can say, okay, it's done, it's great. But when somebody is born, he might be Hitler part 9. You never know. Right? So that's the idea of the cycle. So it's very important to be here and to recognize that we are seeing everything upside down because we're watching it from the feet up, not from the head down. So what was bad becomes good, and what was good becomes bad. That is the cycle. This is where the secret of that feast is. Any questions? Okay. So the other, Shalom, hijo. I'm glad you're here. Have a seat. So Passover is our main feast, right? That's the feast for Nazarenes, because we are remembering Yahshua's sacrifice. We remember his death. So that's very important to us. That's the time that we really recognize his sacrificial in the human being that was here 2,000 years ago, who was mature enough, perfect enough, right? Mature enough to allow the Mashiach spirit to really take over, like it should eventually take over all of us. But he was the head of all of us. He's the example that all of us need to follow. Does that make sense? So this is a very, very close feast is the feast from us, from Yahshua, who is our feast. It's the feast that we put more to it than any other feast. So we found a place where we're going to have it, and we have an idea how we're going to do it. But I want to include you guys to be part of it this time around, because I think it's time for us to do something together to serve and to have fun with it also at the same time. So it's a combination of those things. So in past feast, the same people, the way the pieces on the table, the centerpieces and all that stuff, and how to do it, and controls the feast. But I wanted this year to be mine. I really wanted to be what I like, what I want, for the first time, because I seem to always allow people to do it. You do it, But this time I want to do it from the beginning to the end. But I wanted to include people that I think that are like me, and I think that you guys are kind of like me, in the sense that, we want something new, something fresh, but at the same time, honor the light. So that's why I wanted this group to kind of do that. So I wanted to talk to Madeline, but I'm saying in front of Madeline here, that I would like us to work on the centerpiece, to work on how are we going to make a flow that day, and that we all participate on it. So we got to start like yesterday, because the feast is in April 20th, and it comes like this. It's just coming. That's why after Purim, we're starting to do everything. Okay? So the place is kind of secretive. Nobody knows what it is until the end. Right? So you guys might know before, because we might have to go and, I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but I don't want nobody to know. I haven't told anybody. Right? So where exactly it is. Yeah. So I want it to be different this time, So because I want to start the different feasts this time around better. I think we can do better. I think we become,
It's a good goal.
yeah.
And having us cooperate, I think that's educational and fun, memorable.
Yes.
Being part of it is important.
And you're part of our youth, so you that day you're the youngest of us here. So yeah.
I'll dye my hair for you. Only for you.
So we'll do that. What do you guys think? You think it's a good idea? Right? So I have some ideas, and I know you have some art experience and stuff that I would like to do with the bottles, and we're thinking of that. So we're going to have it nice. So we'll have everything ready. I wanted to have it ready 2 weeks before we go to the party. 2 weeks, I wanted to have it ready, so just when we go there, we have everything. All right? So I'll talk to Madeline, and then we'll have to meet, and maybe we can meet. I have some Thursdays here because they owe me, the owners owe me time. So I have some Thursdays that we might want to come and do it here. We can do it in this here together, or we can meet somewhere else. But we're going to have to meet outside Shabbat, because I would like to participate with you guys. Does it make sense? I want to be there.
And will you tell us about supplies and
Yes, we're gonna figure out all that. Yes, so, and all right, yay. Okay, all right, okay, good. So ready? Any other questions? So Pesach, right? And I even went to see the place, and I saw where you guys could sit after. The thing is a nice area, and I want to see if we can really understand the importance of the connection of that feast. Right? That's like a 4th of July for us. It's the 4th of July. Is that we become a nation, that we become one. And I really want to feel that day, instead of people complaining and this and that. Different. It's a different venue. The place that I chose is a different venue than we had done before. So it's nice. Okay. So, all right. So we're gonna start then. So ready? We're going to call this piece of the teaching, we're going to call it the 4 factors. 4 factors or 4 elements. So So ready, here we go. You and I are always in a new state or mood or frame of mind. Does that make sense? Well, I'm going to say it again. You and I are always in a new state or mood or frame of mind. Does it register that in your heads? That means, right, that we get into trouble because we always think people act the same way always. They are always feeling the same thing when you see them, and it's not true. The state of their minds could be, they could be very anxious, they could be very happy. I mean, there's different moods and state of minds, but it's always changing. The question is, who designs and determines that state? Why do you get like that? That's a good question, right? Who makes that determination that you're going to be sad this morning? Well, it should be us, but that's not a question that, the Kabbalah asks. Biological, yeah, could be. So, better yet, what elements designs it? Could be a better question. Oh, the weather. Oh, you can talk about the elements. Yes, of course it does. Well, like a sun. So the earth signs, by nature, they need light in order to really be happy. Taurus, who are more in April than May. May are different Taurus because they are closer to the air. So they're a little more faster than your typical Taurus of April. April Taurus, they at the beginning, they're really different than the Taurus at the end of, right? So, but Taurus, more in April, but even May, they need light. So when they get really depressed, it's because of lack of light. So a lot of Taurus, I like them to really get D3s, 5,000 units, 10,000 units, or D3 because that's going to pick them up. Or they have this light, these bulb lights, specifically to help you feel the sun when you are in home in the winter. So yeah, weather can make a difference. That was my explanation of the weather. Yeah? Here we go. So, in Kabbalah, states there are 4 factors that determine a person's state of each and every moment. 4 factors. So maybe we can figure it out. It can help you to see why you can become so moody. So here it goes. Origin is the first factor. We call it origin. This is a starting point for transformation, but it's not the same thing as black canvas. Think of it more like a wall that has been painted and repainted many times. This is, we talked about last week about that. So the idea is that a lot of the stuff that you're feeling are not only from this life, but from past lives. In the cycle. I'll give you an example. As I grown older, I thought because I was getting older, I was trying to feel more my past lives. When I started learning about this 30 years ago, right, I was 10. So then, 30 years ago, right, I would teach this, but I was more theory than really feeling it. But as I got older, I thought, hey, maybe because I'm getting closer to passing to the other side, I'm starting to feel the past lives, but it's not that. Could be, but it's not that. It is because now I'm more conscious because I used to live in the 20s in my last past life. And I'm starting to remember more and more the cycles because I'm more conscious now when I used to be in the 20s last century. So that's one way to see this, is that I become, because in the 20s, what was in the 20s in the last century? What was happening? In the 20s? Yeah. There was a war. The depression. But yeah. That came out in the 1870s. The industry became like that. It hit, but it was in the 1800s. Actually, 1870 something is really, you see in the machinery and all that. No, but you see wars, money issues, right? And what else? A pandemic, the Spanish pandemic. And those things, right? Somehow now I recognize them, and I have acted different than many people when it comes to those things because it seemed already happened to me. I related like a deja vu, right? Like I was already there and nothing really happened to me, so it's nothing gonna happen to me now. So I never saw coronavirus in a just by saw what it was, not more or less, right? And I see this gas and people talk about, oh my God, it's going to 9, and I get it because we all need to, to stretch our money, but I don't see it like, this World War III. I don't fear it the way it is. It could be not because I'm brave or I'm smart. It's just that it's hitting me now from my past life. So my mood it comes from that time. Does that make sense? So say yes, no, I don't care. Yes. So, but to confuse you more, right, to make it more confusing, there is also another something called karma. And karmas don't come from these worlds. Karma from different universes, not past lives. So there is other karmas are coming that we have here that has nothing to do with my past lives in this universe. So I could have 10,000 past lives here, but I could have more karma, energy, karmatic. We call that a karmatic sephirot, tree of the tree of life. So these are different universes, and they have energies that I feel them. So we'll talk about them in this. We'll talk about them, okay? But just right now, we're talking about just the origin of where your mood might come from. What about if it comes from past lives? So that how should you act upon them? Right? So here it goes. The layers previous coats of paint are there beneath the surface. Perhaps they cannot be seen or distinguished, but they are part of the composition of the wall. Always a starting point for the next layer of transformation. As the wall's current paint is always the undercoat for the next coat. So, the principle about what? Everything is changing all the time. And so your moods are going to be changing for the what? Tikkun. What is tikkun in English? The corrections of our souls. So our moods have to do with correction. So if you feel sad, you have to, instead of saying, oh my God, poor me, is, I wonder what I'm correcting today that I feel so sad or I feel angry. Because it's about correction. It's not about punishment. It's not about guilt. It's not about not being the one in your life, but really about just rectifying something. Yeah, just rectifying. So that's one factor. It's 4 factors, but that's the first factor. Any question about the first factor? Because if we don't understand this, everything in Kabbalah is going to be all messy to us.
So I'm confused about the karma aspect. because traditionally, like in other Eastern teachings, like karma is like what happened, like what's happening is an explanation for what's happening to you based on your previous actions, right? But in this case, you're saying that it's coming from somewhere else that's not connected to your actions. Huh.
No.
So it's like it's outside of your like you have no control over it.
Forget you have no control because you didn't have control of the other one either. But it's not yours. Well, this idea is a very Nazarene idea, very Kabbalistic. Is somebody has to take the burden of something in order to carry it and dissolve it or solve the problem of somebody else. That is a very, very Nazarene idea and a very Kabbalistic idea. So I'm going to give you an example. So what do we call the primordial man? How do we call him? Adam what? Kadmon. Kadmon means primordial, right? So in the beginning, when the Ein Sof took the first world out, the first world is called Adam Kadmon. And he is the body of all of us. Right? He is the structure of what reality is. But it broke down. It fell. And in order, right, to fix it, there was like, it became like filters of worlds. 7 worlds before ours. And then they were not getting better. So then he introduced all those pieces in a perfect world, which is a universe. I know you don't think that our universe is perfect, but you haven't gone to Jupiter. Believe me, this is a perfect world. This is a wonderful place. This is the Garden of Eden. There is nothing out there. They've been looking and looking. There's nothing more than this planet, because everything it was made for this planet. But we don't see it that way. We always have a hard time with it because we live in it, right? So the soul comes into Keter, and the soul brings all the karmas of all the other worlds in order to fix it so they can go and fix all the other worlds. So it's like there's a lot of stuff on us.
So it's like each person's like assigned like a karma as part of that correction. And that's what's kind of like opposed to.
Yeah, and that's why we have a hard time with it. We call it. Yes. Yes, we have a hard time with everybody because we are having issues with cosmic problems. It's a cosmic problem.
And it's ongoing.
It's ongoing
And it will not stop until we
until we fix it. Little by little, it's gonna be a chain of like a reaction, right? It's gonna just go.
So does it, like the same thing, it starts in one realm and it ends up in the other realm where it's fixing. It's already fixing it, the cycle comes over again.
And it cycles until it fixes. You can do a suffering or laughing. It's all about you. I'm telling you, I don't know how to say it, but life is it's not about suffering. It shouldn't be. That's why I think Purim is an interesting feast, because it was the closest that Israel was going to be deleted. Not even the Pharaoh, not even the desert, not even the plagues were going to destroy Israel. But Haman had the ability to destroy it. If he gets to the king, and the king says yes, we were done. And in that moment of nightmare, we are partying and having a good time. That tells you what type of story we're talking about, what type of feast, you know. And like I tell the people here in the congregation is, the more you complain, the closest you are to be a blasphemist. Complaining is a wrong thing to do. Laugh about it. And you see how different life is. You cannot be complaining. Complaining is going to bring you down. Does it make sense? We're going to get more into that. I'm jumping way behind here, but just to an idea because of the question. Okay, when you talk about the world, you see what I'm talking about. But there's a karmatic event going on. Yeah, it will make more sense because you and I, very individually, want to get saved. We're going to be okay. But it's not about you or me. And we haven't understand that part. That's what Paul says eventually. I don't live anymore. He lives in me. In other words, I don't even know who I am anymore because I understood that it wasn't about me. All this time it wasn't about me. I thought it was about me. And that's what happens to us as parents, right? Because when our kids are young, we think it's about the family. It's about us and us and us and us and us. And then they're done. They're gone. They're different. And you're like, what? I thought we always going to have this family. No. They have to make their own families. They have to make their own worlds. And it wasn't about you. When you were the center of attention, maybe, in that time. It's rough when you attach. Anyway, I'm going to cry. So I'm going to continue here. No more attachments.
No, Rabbi, no.
Okay, number two. We're going to call it the paths of development that stem from human nature and are unchanging. I'll say it again. Paths of development that stem from human nature and are unchanging. Okay, let's see what this is. This factor deals with the unchanging and unchangeable parts of a person's nature. I'm going to stop there. What does that mean? What do you think that means? Just by that sentence. Habits? You cannot change habits?
Behavior?
You cannot change behaviors?
It's like your inborn character genetics.
It's genetics. Oh, okay. Could be genetics, even though we're about to do that too. We're going to be able to change your genetics also, which we already do. But anything else?
These are metabolic statements, primitive in them, just instinctive. So we were going to do what we're going to do. Sorry, we're already built that way. Everyone is uniquely built different.
Yeah.
What about our experience?
What about your experience? What do you mean?
Like life experience?
Your what?
Like your personal experience, like life experience. Like my experience, like tasting an ice cream might taste different to you, and my experience might be different. So that could be unchangeable.
All tastes like chicken.
No, like
This is about human nature. Your question was about human nature. Our human nature that develops.
You know how, yes, so you're right. No, I'm saying that actually, you know how everybody says, so how does that taste, that snake? Oh, like chicken. I don't know what that means. I don't know how chicken really tastes. Is the way I taste chicken is the way you taste chicken? I don't think so. So when you say everything tastes like chicken, you're just saying to me you don't know what the heck you're tasting. That's what I think. All right, so yes, you're right. You guys were right in many ways. He goes, this factor deals with the unchanging and unchangeable parts of a person's nature. This includes such things as hereditary traits, such as your skin of color, eye color, predilections toward heart or other diseases, as well, here's the one that I'm more into it, as well as one's nature. What does that mean, nature? Such as being a good temper or irritable person. That will never change. So if you have a boyfriend that is his temper is snaps, he will never change. He might change his behavior. He might, become very educated to a point that he doesn't snap, but he's snapping inside because that's his nature. That's why when we talk about human beings, we never want to change anybody because they can't change when it comes to their nature. You can change behavior. You can become more responsible, right? Those things can be done. But the way they are, that's why when you meet somebody, the first you need to know is really their nature. If you can understand their nature, then you can handle anything else. You say, yeah, I can handle that for the rest of my life, then you're in a good place. But if you say, oh no, he's going to change. Oh, she's going to do it.
Or even better, I'm going to marry him because I'm going to change him.
Oh, yeah. It's not going to happen.
In that sense, not that the person's going to change, but you said the person's not going to. It's
Yes. No, you're right. But for example, look, my grandfather, when I met him, right? When I met my grandfather, he was not into religion. He was not a religious person. And he was rough. He was one of those old school, disciplinary, don't mess with me. You know? That's what he was. That's how I met him. So he had that, his temper was very, very cold. Cold. That's maybe the word I want to use. It's like if he would punish me or whatever, there was no expression in his face. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't being angry. He just smacked me. And that's the end of the conversation, right? Or whatever he wanted me to do, even when it was good things, that was his way he did it. So then he became religiously, he got into religion and he changed in his behavior. He became happier. So there was always smiling, but I knew that I couldn't push him. Because I pushed him enough, his true nature was going to come again. Even though his behavior was better, he became kinder in many ways. When it came to it, you didn't go there. So that's something that you need to understand about humans. Is, yes, a human can love you, but you know his nature. Why are you pushing that? It's because you're such ignorant of the moment. But if we know how to treat each other. We know to the end, because even though, I saw the saints, in a revelation, doesn't mean that I'm going to change my nature. That's what I want you to know. That's very important. I mean, that's probably the best advice I gave you in 10 years. Nobody changes. We just maneuver to learn to control and love each other. And so we respect each other and we don't push those buttons. Be happier people. Don't you think? You guys don't like anything today. That's okay. All right. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But a mouse needed to cross the river, and the mouse didn't. He knew the nature of the tiger, that he was going to eat him.
Yeah.
So the tiger will never change being a tiger.
Why? He can't, right?
Cannot.
It's like,
That was a lovely book, because I was like,
you remember that guy in Vegas?
Oh, yes, I saw a little bit on,
The Vegas guy, the one with the lions?
yeah, little
For so many years they were, and then one of those times the tiger decided, oh, I'm going to be a tiger now. And almost killed him. Didn't kill him, but almost killed him, right?
oh, one of them died.
He died?
There were two brothers.
Yeah. So he died.
One died.
Okay. Let's have a silence here for one. Okay, no, yes. Yeah, he died. But he, it's like that lady who had that monkey, remember? He had a chimpanzee for 10 years, and then one day he put him in the baby chair to drive, and then he took the face of the. That is humans. Humans we respect. That's why we respect humans. You don't mess with humans. Nobody should mess with anybody. We can do this because we're intelligent enough to know each other. If we love each other, we have to find those spots so that we could be always connected. If not, the person that might love you, if you go to the police, they will say to you that the scariest calls are domestic violence. What? I thought, being with the gang, no. Because when you go in, you don't know who is the animal at that moment. And they'll shoot you. So that's what I'm telling you. This is a very interesting factor about unchanging natures. Yes?
I have a question. So, is this the same as you never change you can change everything, but you never change your passion? I watched a movie and that stuck with me, saying that they were trying to get this person that killed someone, and he changed his name, he changed everything, but he loved soccer. So the ones that were looking for him, he said, he can change everything, but he's not going to change his passion. So we'll find him at a soccer game. And yeah, they sure find him there because his passion became changed. So this is kind of hand in hand, right?
Yes, that's his nature.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
His passion, his
No, that's a wonderful example. Yeah. That's why when we talk about signs, right? You'll find a Pisces here at church or in jail. At the end of the day, that's why you'll find a Pisces. What I mean, jail is he's doing really bad things. Or he's doing these things here. Because remember, the feet are the low passions. Right? It's the end. That's why it's in the feet that we do Purim. What are we going to do on Friday here? We're going to be eating, drinking, telling jokes, because that's the low passions of a Pisces. Pisces is the feet. Very important. But it's the end of the spectrum. Okay? What were the two things in Vietnam War that when you got there, what do you need to take care of? Your feet and your teeth. Those are the two things they would tell you when you went to Vietnam War. If you have your feet wet, you will get messed up. You couldn't even walk. You have to have them dry all the time. And your teeth, and the teeth because of the infections. So you have to be brushing your teeth. So isn't it interesting that when you go to war, they give you these requirements? What Torah is so beautiful to us, they give us requirements every month. Like saying, do not wet your feet this month. Do not be so soaked on the emotions. You're going to drown. You're going to mess up with you. So just let it be. Laugh. Laugh about your problems. Drink a little bit, in a good sense of the word. Enjoy life. Do not mess up. It will be other months where you cannot even eat. They want to tell you, do not eat too much. Do not do this. So every month it gives you a requirement for your sake. Isn't that wonderful? I think it is. All right. Number 3, ready? Yes, Rabbi. I'm glad that my English and my Spanish are the same way. So here we go. Paths of development that change under the influence of external factors. Paths of development that change under the influence of external factors.
This is the same thing, but it's the parts of the person that
Can change.
based on,
An influence on the external,
it's all the environment.
the environment. So let's read it to see what.
So like a person who like a Pisces, who's raised in a home is not going to have some of the same reactions as a Pisces at a different kind of thing. Let's say raised by parents and raised by Leo in that case. Those are the factors that would change, some of the factors that would change in that person.
Yeah. So yes. So let's see. Let's see. And you need to be careful about this, okay? Because a lot of us believe that the environment and our parents and that makes who we are. And even though they do have a lot of influence in us, it's very minimum at the end of the day.
You mean external forces?
External forces. So for example, mom and dad is only 10% of who I am. That weird? They look like it sometimes. 10%. The environment is 10%. So 80% of what you are and become and do is you. You brought it down. You brought it down to fix it.
Oh, to fix it.
Yeah.
So if we're taught as a young toddler how to fix things, then we'll be better off in survival.
Yes. In other words, people always ask. I was in this church. It was a Pentecostal church. So it was kind of like an African American, but they weren't African Americans. They were from they were from Puerto Rico. I think they were Puerto Ricans, and they were loud. Okay? They were loud, and they were clapping. I had a good time, and I got excited, right? So we were singing, and good time. And then I said, well, we need to be careful about the forces of darkness. I don't, something like that I said. And somebody stood up and says, we need to take Satan from this church. I'm like, what? Satan? I was like, where's he at? Right? And then I recognized that I was in this church. And I said, and then it just came naturally to me. And I said, you should go first. And then I'll go.
You're good, Rabbi, you're good.
And he looked at me and says, because Satan only lives in me. Evilness is only in me. I introduced it. I am also the poison, and I am also the antidote. And that's why some of us kill people. And some of us save people. We haven't recognized that we are the one who's going to heal this universe. We just don't know it. Inside of us is these powers. You know, like the X-Men. And we just don't know it, that we have these powers. And so we call Satan and we call it God and we call it what I call it, but it's introduced here. Evilness is in us. That's what did Yahshua said about that? Somebody knows? They asked him that question. You know, where's the evil? And he says, evil? Evil is in the heart of man. That's where everything wrong is. It's in the heart of man. Which heart means what? In Hebrew? The mind. It's in our mind. We create all these things. So, environmental, right? Here we are. So, yes, be living with another family is going to change the way I might see some things, but not my nature from number 2. Does it make sense? Okay, so let's number 3 and then we can go, okay? Because I know you guys are very busy, right? Things to do, places to go.
Passive development under the is number 3.
Yeah, we're going to number 3 now. Okay. So this is our attitude toward external environment. The attitude toward the external environment. Say you get a bad performance review from your boss at work. You may be upset and angry and feel that the feedback is unfair. Or you may decide your boss has the best interest at your heart and told you what you need to do in order to succeed. Either way, your attitude toward the event will inevitably change you. So that's the only thing you can do really change, is perception. My nature I can change. My perception I can change, and it's going to change my world. I can see that he's trying to help me, or I see that he's just messing with me. Yes, you had a question, Rico? It changes. If it's external, it's changing your environment. Yeah. But then, if it's a perception of me internally, that is my nature, how I perceive me. Yeah, so it's perception outside. And that's the only thing you can change. Think about it. This is a very powerful idea, though.
Is that the 80%?
This is the 80%. Right. We're still in the, because it's us who have to make that change of the way we see things.
So in other words, perception, like mindset, the way that you interpret.
Those are your factors of why you get so moody. I'm just giving you the factors, right? One is origin. You don't know where it's coming from. It could be from these lies or cosmic, I don't know. It's coming somewhere else. Second is because, that naturally I'm more negative. I see things more critical that way. I'm always trying to measure things. That's my nature. Third is the way I see things also affects my mood. If I saw that my boss is really trying to help me, it's like when you try to teach somebody something. You would think that when somebody takes the time to teach you, you will be grateful. But that's not true, though. There's some people that don't like to get taught. Right? And you're like, yikes. It's perception. Not here. You guys are not like that. But, in other worlds. Another realm that, yeah. All right, so that will be number 3? Yes. Yes. Depression is what? Yeah. Depression comes from you believing that you are valued, that you only are important. Being depressed is being egocentric. It's only thinking of you. And if you only think of you, you mess with you because you have a lot to be sad about. That's how world is. I'm sorry. But if you only start thinking about you, you're like, oh my God, all my failures, all my things, no, you can really go down. But if you're not so into you and more into loving your neighbor, you will survive the saddest parts of your life. You can do this. And again, we all have a different weaknesses, like superheroes. Don't look at it as a negative thing. That's your weakness. Like, kryptonite is for Superman. But still Superman. But we have our weaknesses. And when it comes to depression, I would say that that's what happens. You're really into you, into your world, into what happens to you. That's why when you're depressed, it's very hard to be social. Or no? Trying to share because you can't. Because you're thinking of you. So yes, perception. And sometimes by just looking at somebody else and go, oh my God, he's worse than me. Yikes. That gives you a funny way, but it gives you like a strength, like, whoo, it's not me. It's like, remember that? Yeah. Oh, that story, I finished with this because we have to go, but like that guy that, somebody died. Somebody told me this. It's a true story. So there was 3 friends, best friends. And then one of their friends died suddenly. So at 4 in the morning, right, the other guy calls the other friend and says, what? This is what happened. He says, well, I must say, John, right? John died. And there was a pause. He said, hello? And then he says, oh my God. What? I am glad that it's not you or me. But that's the truth. That is the nature of us. Whew. I'm sad for him, but I'm glad it wasn't my son. I'm glad it wasn't somebody that I loved. Because that's who we are in that ego. And that eventually will cave us in. So we need to kind of get out of that, remember, by loving our neighbors, always pushing to feel for other people. And that's going to help us because we all go down when it comes to that. All right? Okay. See you later, alligators.